Okay. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to call to order a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. We're convening at 7:06. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Public speak, we're going to move on to Linda Fish.
No, thanks.
Okay. All right. So the purpose of this meeting, item 3, is to discuss and act upon questions for the ballot. Dennis has done a tremendous amount of work on these, and to make them as easy to understand and have someone have the ability to read them in the ballot box, I think they've gotten much better. So has everyone had an opportunity to see the most recent one, Ann and Scott?
Yes.
The one that just came
How recent was that?
6:30, basically.
Oh,
right?
no, I have not seen anything that recently.
Okay. Well, let's
I
look
saw
at,
it, Jeff. I
I'm
read.
not getting emails. I talked
It was-
to Carol and she had sent an email and I never got it. Today, I'm
Okay.
not getting emails.
okay, so Ann, is there a personal account that I can you text me the account you want it to go to? So that
Sure.
we're not broadcasting it.
Let's see here.
And it was only the change, Scott, that was the last question split into 2. Question 14 was split into 2.
13.
Are you going to send it to me also?
Sure, I'll do it.
I
did not get it either, Jeff.
I didn't send it to you, Eric.
There you have it.
I didn't know you would be here. I'm so sorry I didn't send it to you. I sent it to Ann at her Andover address, the only one I have. I also sent it to you, Scott, at your personal address. What I did was I got back from, I was at Norwich Hospital today, and I got back and noticed an email I got from Jeff Murray saying that he agreed with all of the questions except for question 13. He thought it was, as he put it, a word salad. So I tried to make the best way to not have it be a word salad was to break it into 2 questions, which is what we had done with other items just to make them more simple. And so I sent, I believe, Scott, I sent it to you. The latest version you got should have come around 6:30, and it should be a total of 15 questions instead of 14.
And I'm going to put them up on the screen anyway. I think that would be the best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So let
I
me,
did text you my email, but
and I sent it. So
you
if
put it up.
everybody can just confirm that they got it while I do this next step that I'm going to deal with.
Yep, I got it.
Okay. And so
I got it too. I'm printing it right now.
Okay, I just got it.
Jeff, if I may, before we begin, I wanted to say a few words about the context of this exercise.
Yeah.
If I may. Of course, we are on August 12th. The Board of Selectmen voted to approve the final report of the committee, of the Charter Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and the timeline is such that we have to submit. We have to do this by Thursday. Okay, this is the deadline is February 5th. I'm sorry, September 5th. So we are running up against the deadline, and we really should get this done. The other thing I want to say is that if these questions seem to be, and I've worked on making them more simplified, too simple, although one of the ways to make them more simple was to break them into several, more questions. There is an opportunity, and I'm going to bring it up to the selectmen's meeting, the regular meeting next week, an opportunity for the selectmen to vote to have explanatory comments, officially explanatory comments from the town made to explain the issues more precisely, say, than these questions do. I think in some you won't need it, but for some you might. But anyway, that's common practice, and the way that works is it's under General Statutes 9-369B. It's done commonly. What happens is the Board of Selectmen votes to refer the matter to the town clerk, so which would be, of course, Carol Lee, and she is responsible for preparing explanatory comments which are not argumentative. In other words, they don't make any points at all in favor or against any of these items. They just state facts.
They just explain the details of what is changing.
Right, of what is changing and what isn't maybe in the
Okay.
I mean, I think the questions are pretty self-explanatory for the most part, but some of them
I am sure that we should do that.
Yeah,
Because it
and
will
I
make,
I
it
just
will
want you
make,
to know that before you go over the questions, so you can, say, don't worry if they're not, you don't think they're detailed enough, because we can detail them through the explanatory comments that actually you have to approve doing it next week, and then there's no deadline for it, but it's time to get on with it. You would have to approve it, the Board of Selectmen, and then it goes to Carol, and Carol prepares the draft, and then it goes to me for final approval. So I'm gonna prepare a resolution for you to put on the agenda for next week's meeting that shouldn't take but 5 minutes. Okay, that's all. I wanted to say that because I want to make sure that everybody knows that these questions can be explained in more detail in ways that are not argumentative, either in favor or against, just by stating additional facts. And I don't think it has to be done with every question. My own opinion. That's all.
My only concern with that, Dennis, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're already into. This is gonna be a two-sided ballot,
Yeah,
because we're asking 15 questions.
correct.
If you're trying to put explanatory text on the ballot at the same
oh,
time,
No,
it's
no,
not
it doesn't
bad.
go on the ballot. It's in a separate format, and it's distributed by the clerk. In whatever means she thinks is best calculated to get the word out. And on top of that, she's authorized to prepare like posters for the voting place that, include those explanatory comments. So no, it does not go on the ballot. That's a great question though, Eric.
got it, okay. Then that was my only concern with doing that.
Okay.
Eric, as a question, how do I share my screen as the host?
Down, if you run your cursor down near the bottom,
Yeah, I
you
see.
should see a green arrow that says share.
Yeah.
You click
then-
that,
Then it gets me to open system settings. I don't really want to.
I don't know. I don't know, it should come up with something that just says share.
Okay, Eric, can you, nope, forget it. I got it. It worked.
You have the power.
I know.
I like it.
Sorry. You're not seeing that, are you?
Yes.
Okay,
Solid state.
okay. Let me
I
move.
see it. I see it.
Okay. So these are the questions as currently written. So I think, and Ann and Scott, please let me know if I read the questions, if we have issues on any of the individual questions, let's stop, talk to Dennis, say, okay, this is a problem. What can we do? What can't we do? I'd like to get through these and sit there and move this if we can. So question one, shall the town charter be revised to require regular town elections in November of odd numbered years instead of in May? Any issues on that question? No? Okay. Two, shall the town charter be revised to delete the rule that the resignation of any member of any board or similar body be accepted by the Board of Selectmen? Okay, if you guys don't say anything to me, I'm just going to keep going like that question's
Nice.
good. Okay. Three, shall the town charter be revised to require that any charter revision commission established after a mandatory Board of Selectmen review be given at least 6 months to submit their draft report to the board? Question four, shall the town charter be revised to permit the director of health or animal control officer position to be filled by an entity as well as an individual person? Question
That
five,
means that one is referring to where you could have another town help out with that. Is that it?
what it's referencing, Ann, is the charter had
Mm.
called for an employee, and they might be subcontractors, just like we're doing currently with the animal
Right.
control and
Yeah,
health.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Question five, shall the town charter be revised so that starting in November of 2027, instead of being elected, the town clerk will be appointed by the Board of Selectmen? Okay. Question seven. No, I'm sorry. Question six. Shall the town charter be revised to begin the town budget process sooner and to set earlier deadlines for budget proposal submissions by town departments?
So can I ask a legal question?
Sure.
What happens if 7 passes but not 6?
Dennis?
And 7 passes and not 6. And you'll have to, everybody will has to hustle up a little bit more, even
Mhm.
without the mandatory deadlines, to try to get everything
Mm.
ready for the
Mm.
annual town budget meeting in the second week of April instead of in May.
But what happens, what Eric is saying is, what if one of them doesn't pass and one of them passes? I mean, and Eric, the reality is you're going to do what is required. So if the earlier budget process doesn't happen and it still ends up in May, you're going to set the deadlines accordingly.
Okay,
You can
I mean,
always do them earlier.
we're just going to use common sense.
Mm.
If something doesn't pass, we'll sit there and modify the actual application. And then if something passes that shouldn't have, we'll either try to pass it again in the next budget revision or remove it in the next budget revision. Budget charter revision, I'm sorry.
I
So-
guess I have kind of a bigger question than that.
Mhm.
Is that these are generalized questions, yet you've approved very specific modifications of text. And what I think is that there's not necessarily a one-to-one correspondence. Like some
Mhm.
changes in text are affected by 2 numbers at once. So is that whole section kind of null and void? Can you go back and make just some of the changes, Dennis?
The changes are in in the final report of the commission and the Board of Selectmen. What the trick to doing this, Eric, is to make sure that the questions cover all of the changes that have been made by the selectmen and the commission in the charter that's contained in the document that includes the changes at large within the context of the charter. So, whatever, that's a matter for interpretation. But when I draft these questions with Jeff's, a big help from Jeff and from Carol, I have that in mind. To try
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, Eric, I totally understand what you're saying is one of these questions can pass and it relates to another question. So does that eliminate both those issues from moving forward in the new charter?
No. They're individual questions.
Understood, but
Especially this
what Eric is saying though, Dennis, is that especially with the budget timing,
Yeah,
if the timing of the budget passes, Eric, and let's sit there and say the quorum issue of the budget doesn't, then we have an earlier town budget meeting, right? I mean, Dennis, that's the truth, right? I mean, what happens?
I don't understand. Wait a minute.
Here, I gotta do this, Eric, I gotta do this because I don't want to waste. Let's
Say that
talk.
again.
Let's
Say
go
that
through
again.
the questions. Let's go through the questions, and then we'll go back and we'll circle all of the questions that relate to each other, and sit there and see what would happen if one failed and the other passed.
Frankly, in past charter revisions that I've worked on, I don't think I've ever done more, and I've done them in Mansfield and also in about 5 or 6 of them in Wyndham. I have never, ever gone past 7 or 8 questions, no matter how detailed it is. But I got a message. I got messages from several people that these questions ought to be more simplified. And if I were left to my own devices at one time, I have seen the light, though. I agree. I like this. I like the result a lot. But I used to, I'm used to doing appellate work in courts, and you write questions that will take up a whole page. Okay, that's an art. That's an art. Okay, but to do that here with the one item that could have resulted in a long run-on question would be, Eric, this new budget process. That could have been all set up in one question, where it's all dependent on one question passing. So you either do it all or you do none of it. But my view continues to be that, for one thing, I'm confident, and this is probably not relevant, but I'm going to say it. I'm confident that these questions will pass. I don't see them failing, one passing. I also think what I said before and what Jeff said is that if the requirement that you have an earlier annual town budget meeting, and that may be written in more, may do this or may do that in the draft report. I'm going to take a look at it when we get back to discussing this in more detail. I'm not sure it's mandatory, but I think the effort is going to be made to hold the annual town budget meeting in the second week of April instead of in May. That's pretty solid. That's a pretty mandatory thing. So I guess I was talking about something else, but in terms of that, but anyway.
Let me go through the rest of the questions and then we will come back to what Eric is talking about.
6 and 7.
There's certain questions that do relate to each other, and I would also like to know what would happen if one passed and one failed.
Yep.
Okay, so we were on. I'm going to go to question. I read question 6, and no one had any issues with that. And Eric asked his question. Okay, let's go ahead.
I
Ed.
just have one question to do with a whole bunch of these budget things, because I noticed one of the things in the charter revision thing was that the budget review meetings would be joint meetings from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. That's not in any of these questions here. The ballot question.
There was an initial meeting that, and if I remember that correctly, even our current budget meeting is a joint meeting. And
This says there'll be joint budget review meetings in March. Meetings, plural,
well, and
section D.
to be really honest, even if that is said, and even if that is how it's written, The Board of Selectmen don't really need to attend those because we don't have control over those items.
Right.
We can attend, and some of us have attended previous meetings, but I don't really consider that as a,
Okay, because this year I know we had like 4 budget meetings for the Board of Selectmen. Then we sent it over to the Board of Finance and they had all their meetings.
yeah. And the
If we're not going to do that,
The
okay,
anticipation is, I'm hopeful that this year the Board of Selectmen does less meetings on the board of
Mhm.
the budget. And
okay.
anyway, let's go to question 7. Question 7,
Yep.
shall the town charter be revised to hold the annual town budget meeting in the second week of April instead of May? Okay. Question 8, shall the town charter be revised to eliminate the quorum requirement for the annual town budget meeting, but not for any special town meeting? Question 9, shall the town charter be revised so that the budget passed by the annual town meeting may go right to referendum held on the same day as the Region 8 vote? We should add, Dennis, in there, the Region 8 budget vote, just for clarification.
I was trying to keep it to 2 lines, but I'll add that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Um,
be economical, because it is long. But yeah, okay.
My question about number 9, it says the budget passed by the annual town meeting. I thought there wasn't going to be a vote at that meeting.
No, there will be a vote.
Of the
There
Board of
Will
Finance.
be?
Oh, no, of the annual town budget meeting. They can vote to lower it, or they can vote to approve it. They can lower it and approve it. But they've got to, from what I read of the charter, they've got to come out of that meeting with a budget. There's no rejecting the budget at that meeting. There's either lowering it or not. They can lower it. They can't raise it. There's going to be a result, and that's the whole purpose of this whole set of questions is to get the referendum, and this may not be a word that worthy a goal for all this. I didn't write these. When charter revision was being developed, I usually play a more of a role than I did because I had a death in the family during that period, and I did not have anything to do with writing this part of the charter. That was done by the commission. I'm sure Jeff
Yeah.
did, but I think the major goal was to try to get it done earlier so that you would go to referendum at the same time as Region 8, if you could. It's not,
Yeah.
if you don't, it's not a sin or anything or a crime, but the effort was to be made to have it on the same day. I think I don't live in town. I don't know as much as you all do about how things actually work in practice. I know a little bit, but I do know that there seemed to be it seemed to be felt that it was a big advantage to have those referendums held on the same day, if possible.
Yeah.
We just
Not
didn't,
required.
okay, the Charter Revision Commission and the discussions at those meetings was have it all on the same day, so we only have one initial budget referendum. And
Right.
hopefully everything passes, and we only have to ask the voters to go to the polls once, not twice, because hardly anyone would go to the RAM meeting, and then you'd get more people at the town budget vote. So let's
Right.
combine them and get as many people as we can to go and vote on both of them so that we get the most participation. So that was what this was about.
And remember now, you have.
Okay.
Okay, but
Let's just talk about the questions.
All
Like
right.
I just want the questions either approved or not, or
All right.
adjustments that need to be made to the questions. So if we can put in the Region 8 budget vote, and I know it'll drop it to another line, but that one word will at least
Well, I
direct.
might cut another word out, and you never know.
Okay.
You never know. I'm a
Question 10.
careful editor.
Shall the town charter be revised to provide the authority to pass ordinances to the Board of Selectmen while authorizing voters to petition to referendum and repeal any ordinance passed by the board before it could become effective.
That's totally accurate,
Okay,
if I do say so myself.
okay, so I'm just making sure my other members are all good and
Yeah.
no
This is
additional.
much better than the old question, much better than the list I had from 2
You
weeks
all
ago.
have, you all have
Much
driven
better.
to exceed myself.
Okay.
I- yeah.
Okay, question 11. Shall the town charter be revised to increase the minimum dollar amount to require special town meeting approval for bonding or other forms of financing to a figure exceeding $50,000 for any repayment term of more than 1 year? Okay,
Can I ask another dumb question on that one?
sure.
So is that any bond or financing that costs more than 50,000 a year or 50,000 total?
50,000 total, 50,000 plus 1 cent.
Got it.
If it exceeds 50,000 and the repayment terms are for more than 1 year. In other
But understand, just for the rest of the Board of Selectmen members, these would normally be in the budget document. This would be, Eric, if you went out and you wanted to do something different, you wanted to get a copier and it cost under $50,000. And you had a budget line item that you had the money in it, you could do it.
Sure.
When's the last time you guys bonded anything?
Never. We don't bond. We haven't bought.
We bond all the time in Wyndham.
Well, you do, but we don't. But our
We
number,
have to. We're
our
poor.
number was very low. But that would be the information in the document that you were talking about before, which we'll talk about after we get through these
It's in the
questions.
document.
12. Shall the town charter be revised to increase the minimum amount? Yes, sorry, it is the different question. Shall the town charter be revised to increase the minimum amount to require special town meeting approval for any grant of financial aid from any source to a grant that requires the town to provide a local match of $25,000 or more? Okay. Question 13. So these were the two questions that were split on this last go around. Question 13.
Correct.
Shall the town charter be revised to increase the minimum amount requiring special town meeting approval to any proposed supplemental appropriation of 1% or more of the current town budget? And okay, so we'll go to the next one. Question 14. Shall the town charter be revised to provide that any proposed supplemental appropriation that exceeds 2.5% of the current town budget or $200,000, whichever is greater, must be sent directly to a referendum vote? Okay, and question 15. Shall the town charter be revised to delete transaction sections 1012, 1013, and 1014, which shall be recorded in the office of the town clerk for reference? Okay. So if we don't have any questions related to the well, any issues with the questions, let's talk about items that are joined like Eric was talking about. So question 1 is not joined. Question 2 is not joined. Question 3 is not joined. Question 4 does not have any other related parts. Question 5 does not have any other related parts. Well, yeah, it doesn't. So we're really talking about question 6, question 7, question 8, and question 9,
Mhm.
right? So if question 6 doesn't pass and everything else passed, we would still force all the departments to do their budgets earlier because we need to hit the
Mhm.
deadline.
Sure.
And so question 6 is really just an organizational part of the charter. And
Oh,
if question 7 or question 8 or question 9 fail, then Eric, I would assume we would push back the deadlines to allow them to have a little bit more time because the residents didn't want to have one referendum, they wanted to have 2 referendums. So, and that's what would happen. So 6, 7, 8, and 9 all kind of go together, and they'll all have a different impact if any of them, if they all don't go in the same direction. And Dennis, if that occurs, if something happens where 1, 6, or 7, like 6, 8, 9 pass and 7 doesn't, what do we do?
well, you try to meet the goals of the others without,
Mhm.
you know, there may be some wiggle room, like you seemed to say before with with 6. And you know, you try to do it. It's just, it's not, if you can't do it, you can't do it. But one thing, as I was going to say before, one thing this does do is remember that in 2022, you passed, the town passed a very noteworthy provision that provides that if a budget fails once, that it goes to, it becomes split into education and town. Something that I personally do not like, frankly. I shouldn't even say that, but I'm sorry. We have it in Wyndham and I don't like it. And but here, I believe that it said until now that I may be wrong, but I thought it said that having I know. If the budget is rejected at the town meeting, that will go to a second, or you go to a split referendum, a split budget after that too. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. This
Wait,
provision,
wait. That's not true. It is. It gets bifurcated, and Scott, you were on that committee, so please just say, if it gets bifurcated, it's at referendum that it fails.
I'm gonna look.
And then after the
There's always a
referendum,
possibility that I could be wrong.
after the first referendum where the combined budget fails, it then goes and does it separately. But who cares? The point is to not have it fail, to pass it all at once so we don't have these conflicts. The question ends up still being, and this is just something that we as a board are going to have to use common sense on. Question 6, 7, 8, and 9 all relate to the same basic budgetary issue. And if one of them fails, we're going to have to work together to determine what the outcome of that vote makes us do with the budget process. Because honestly, I sit there and go, if if question 8 fails, if question 8 fails, you're going to have problems with meeting the regional vote, meeting the deadline of the regional vote. Because Dennis, what that would do is that would push our budget process back to, there'd be there would be a vote down, because the way the charter currently works, if it's voted down, if the budget fails at the town meeting, it pushes it back to the Board of Finance, and they have a week.
That's right.
You know, we have to, I think they have a week, and then we have to meet again. We have to have another town meeting
I just looked at it.
2 weeks later. So we'll never meet the RAM budget date.
You'll never get it.
Never do. And so we as a board are going to have to understand, if these questions don't all pass, we're going to have to make some decisions and say, okay, this is what the outcome of that vote leads us down. And this is how we're going to sit there and implement the charter. It's just how it is. There's nothing else we can do. And we're going to do it to the best of our ability. But Eric is correct, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all relate. And
They do.
one fail on any of the questions will cause problems with the other questions.
Not problems that can't be addressed through, as you say, common sense.
Common sense, yeah.
I think that the benefit is that you're not going to go back from the town, you're gonna go to town meeting and you're not going back. That town meeting is gonna end with a referendum.
Correct.
That's one of the
the
reasons-
goal. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Got to vote. We got to have a favorable vote, but if not,
Well,
6, 7, 8, 9 all relate to the same issue, and we're going to address that as a board. 10 is a separate issue. 11 is a separate issue. 12 is a separate issue. 13 is a separate issue.
right,
14 is a separate issue,
now it is, yes.
right? And 15
Jeff
is a
Murray.
separate. Yep. So there are two specific questions. So if somebody, and 13 and 14 relate to the same thing, but if something gets voted down, like if 13 got voted down, we're asking for 1% of the current budget. It's currently a 0.5%. So
Right.
we would just go back to a 0.5%.
Correct.
If 14 passed, that would be fine. We'd have to have a special meeting over half of 1%. But if it exceeded $200,000, we would go right to referendum. So
Right.
they're separate questions. So
Yep.
the only issue we as a board have are 6, 7, 8, and 9. Not all going in the same direction of vote, and then we have to address that after the election.
See how,
So-
see how it works?
Yeah, that's
It's a
all.
good plan.
Okay, so
But not
Ann and Scott, do you guys have any problems with the questions to be submitted to the Secretary of State to get on the ballot?
I don't.
Okay,
I'm fine.
All right.
These revised ones look good.
okay. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Better.
make a motion that we authorize the town clerk with the under the direction of the town attorney to present these questions to the Secretary of State to get them put on our November 2024 Town of Andover ballot.
A second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So Dennis,
You wanted me to add a word to one of the,
9.
it was, yeah, Scott's got it right, number 9,
budget.
the word budget, the Region 8 budget vote. What other votes do they take?
Well, we don't, but
All right,
it's just a word that will
Makes
clarify it
sense.
for a voter that doesn't
Okay,
have any
okay.
idea what Region 8
oh, it's gonna make, I'm gonna have to. All right.
is. Okay.
I'll
So,
fix-
we don't have anything else to do in this meeting. Let me stop sharing, go back to the screen. And it looks like Linda Fish left our meeting. So we don't have anyone from the public here. Eric, would you like to make a comment?
Better to burn out than to fade away.
Okay, and Dennis, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I like that song, Eric. That's a good song.
Okay.
Neil Young. Anyway, yeah, I have no comment. I appreciate the support from the Board of Selectmen and the Charter Revision Commission. I think you all did a wonderful job to get to this point. And I'm so glad that these are passed and we're gonna make the deadline, because I would hate to see it all this hard work by so many people go to waste. Let's let the voters decide. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank
All
you.
right, I think we're done then. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second it.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right,
Aye.
thank you very much. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dennis and Scott. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
night.
all.
All right.